My name is Nolen, and this is my war story. Right when I lost my grip or jumped or whatever happened, I could hear everybody, including my father that was down below watching, breathing real deep. I was born in Dallas, Texas. When I was 9, I moved to Memphis, Tennessee. I pretty much had a normal childhood until I was 12 and 13 years old. I started doing cocaine, hanging around much older people. I had made straight A's as a young child until I was in 7th grade, and I completely failed 7th grade because I never went, so they made me repeat it. And I thought I'd learned my lesson, but I didn't. I kept making good grades all the way up until 9th grade. That's when we moved to Collierville, Tennessee. My dad thought he was taking us out of a bad neighborhood in Memphis and taking us out to Collierville, which would be better, but it wasn't. It was the same thing. We still hung out with the same people, and I ended up dropping out of school in 9th grade. My drug usage got really bad when I was 15, 16. I did every drug under the sun pretty much. I was 16 or 17 years old, and I was dating this girl named Leslie. A guy friend of mine was with us one night, and we left in my truck and went and parked in a field in Collierville. We were rolling up some joints and doing cocaine in the truck, and the police come rolling up on us, and we bail out. The police searched the truck. We weren't in it, of course, and they found 2.5 pounds of marijuana, 5 ounces of cocaine, a Tech 22 and a Tech 9. And of course, they looked up the license plate number, and they called my dad. My dad got a hold of me. I went to court, and they put me on house arrest for a year. Couldn't leave the house. It was quite a bad experience. I was without God. I had no hope. I didn't care for my body, my mind, my soul. Didn't care for anything, really. Respect for other people, respect for my elders, my parents. By the time I was 19, I tried methamphetamines for the first time, and I was immediately hooked to it. Way worse than anything else I'd ever tried. April 31st, 2005, I got in a fight with the mother of my children. The next morning, my dad wanted me to leave the scene, get away from the situation, so he took me to work with him. I had been up for 2 weeks on meth, and I wasn't in my right mind. I was pretty psychotic, and I didn't know what was going on exactly. I was really paranoid, so I climbed a tree at his office, a really tall pine tree, about 30 feet. I remember the police showing up, and ambulance people, all that stuff, trying to coax me down, but that wasn't going to happen. Right when I lost my grip or jumped or whatever happened, I could hear everybody, including my father that was down below watching, breathing real deep. It's hard to recreate that sound when it's like, and everybody breathes in real deep. I could hear that 30 feet up. I fell, landed flat on my back on a railroad tie, which broke my back at the lowest disc possible, L1, and mid-chest, about T8. After that incident had taken place, I woke up at the med a few days later. The doctor came in and told me that I'll never be able to walk again. When I got to my parents' house, I was still trying to use drugs, just like I was before, but it was way worse this time. I had a valid reason to get high now. I got really hard into opiates because of my injury. I needed to take something to relieve the pain that I was in every day, the physical pain. I got so crazy that my parents had to put me out of the house permanently. I was at the hospital after wrecking my vehicle, and the authorities notified my father and let him know what happened and that I was alive and everything. And he came up to the hospital and saw me, and he was like, "Come on, let's go get in the truck, I'll take you home." So I go follow him out to his truck, and he doesn't help me in the truck. He leaves me beside it and pulls off and drives off and waves by. That night, I was stranded. That's the first time I had truly ever been on my own. It was very rough. It was wintertime. It was 20 degrees outside that night. So I had to find somewhere to go. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know anything about missions or where I could sleep that night. So I flagged down a police officer, and he took me to Memphis Union Mission. And that was the beginning of my street life. Off and on a little bit, every now and then I'd get a house to sleep in or something like that, but I was pretty much homeless, sleeping in the woods for about 7 years. My drug usage got even worse to where I was overdosing at least once or twice a week. In 2012, I got arrested for a DUI. One day the police come knocking at the door and they want to see me. I was like, okay, so I went outside and talked to them. And they said that I'm under arrest. They have a warrant for my arrest for not paying fines. So I'd officially violated probation. I had to serve the last 2 months at the penal farm in Shelby County. After I left there, I had nowhere to go. So I called my father on the phone and he gave me information about the Warrior Center. When I got out, I went straight to the Warrior Center that day. The first day I got there, I gave my life to Christ, and it hasn't been the same since. I would have thought that giving my life to Christ would have been a lot easier when things start going better, but it's been the opposite. Doing the right thing is much harder than doing the bad thing. I know that I have a hope today. God's allowed me and inspired me and has given me the wisdom and knowledge and power to become a better person, and I'm just running with it. I've gone from being in a wheelchair, not able to move my legs, to being able to move them a little bit, to full-on walking these days. Without God, none of this would have been possible. Without the Warrior Center being here and being so lenient, or having such a good program, none of this would have been possible. If it wasn't for the friends that I've made, for the inspiration from several different people, staff members and clients alike, I wouldn't be where I am today. I have to thank God and everything that He's set in my life so far. My name is Stephen Nolen, and this is my war story.